Okay. So I titled this Roles in the Classroom because again I think it's important to show how all these roles in the classroom work together. And it was a pretty good training, and it was a really super good refresher for me. I haven't taken Montessori training in 17 years, so it was great to kind of reinvigorated me.
2002?
Yeah.
Okay, then I think I did see your picture too.
Oh, okay.
Through the books of everyone that's taken it.
I would have it would have been my maiden name, because I got married that year, so, yeah, so that's funny. Okay, so the Montessori schools are named after a woman, where she's the person we're representing, Maria Montessori, and she founded this educational system over 100 years ago. And she was Italy's first female doctor. She really broke a lot of boundaries and glass ceilings, and she kind of went against the grain. When she was in medical school, she did a lot of training in psychiatry, and then started working with children, and then realized that she could start this method to teach children, that children were so capable in an era where children should have been seen and not heard. She believed the opposite. So mainly her belief is that children can learn how they can learn to learn by themselves, and this system was designed to encourage their creative potential and to just discover that love of learning. She felt strongly that children learn best when they got to choose what they were learning, so she wanted to make sure there was self-direction and self-motivation. And then in her method, children were neither punished nor rewarded for what they did at school. So it's kind of like what we say now is they move at their own pace. Some children absorb information quicker and they can move quicker, and some need more time, and that's okay. So again, remember, this is where we're really representing Novi Woods Montessori, but we're really representing Maria Montessori. And in the classroom, we've got really important people, and one of those people is the lead teacher. Back in the day, they used to be called a directress. That was what the name of the lead teacher was called. So you'll see some of that vocabulary throughout here. It gets a little tricky nowadays because we have like our program director, and parents don't quite get it. So we just kind of refer to our teachers as teachers. But as these lead teachers have gone through the training, that person is the link between the children and their environment. She prepares the environment in an attractive way, and she helps them through the curriculum. Mainly, we are, as teachers in the rooms, we're observers, so we're watching. We're watching for what they're doing and what they need to do next. And then the lead teacher, because of all the training she's had, can experiment with what to do next. So it's not exactly a prescribed curriculum. Sometimes you have to skip around a little bit, and that's the teacher's job to figure that out as to what the child needs next. All of us in the room, but especially the lead teacher, has been, trained to give respect to each child, give them their space, allow them to make their own decisions. There's a lot of terms in Montessori, and one of them is freedom within limits. So obviously we don't want everything to go crazy, but we want to give them freedom.
Yeah, they had the saying, follow the child, but not off a cliff.
I love that. Perfect. Yeah, we're not letting them run the classroom.
Right.
However, if it's not destructive, I think that's what you heard me a lot say. If it's not interfering, then they should have freedom. And then she will be presenting lessons in a very clear way. We'll get into that more, but we had just spoken about a lot of them are silent. And then she's the ultimate role model, exhibiting grace and courtesy. And, that's bottom line. It says Dr. Mansouri believed that the director should focus more on the child rather than the daily lessons. She must be aware about the changes taking place in behavior, attitude, interest, and progress of the children. Can I use the example of your money? When you were in when Joe, I don't know what really happened, but I love to think about, Joe remembers a time in the Montessori classroom where all he would do is make money, like in practical, or art or whatever. He would just cut the rectangles and draw the numbers on it and stick it in his pocket. And I would just like to think that that was his sensitive period for cutting or writing numbers, and hopefully the teacher recognized that and was like, I'm gonna let him do that, and we'll get back to our math lessons in a week or so. I love that story. And so now we move on to the assistant. So we talk a lot about the lead teacher and what they do, but the assistant is an invaluable part of the classroom. You guys make everyone else look good, and you don't get a lot of the glory. It's a hard thing. You sometimes spend more time with the children than the lead teacher does, and they might actually feel most comfortable with you. So, because you're taking care of a lot of their really, really basic and, when I say basic, I mean like their most important needs, which is their safety and security. You help them in the bathroom, you comfort them when they're sick, you might provide some first aid. Food is a big part where you're helping with snack. And emotional support when they're upset. So sometimes I think we all need to remember that nobody could be doing these jobs without that support. So those are the basic needs, and those are priorities. But beyond that, one of the more important roles in the classroom during the work time is protecting the lesson. And what we mean by that is that you're just always up and observing and basically ready to intervene if there's going to be disruption. So if a child is ready to disrupt a teacher giving a lesson, or a child who is working and concentrating, we're going to protect that lesson. And protecting the environment. Because we have something called a prepared environment, which is just a very inviting atmosphere for children, we want to keep that. So, and I'm sure all of our teachers are real particular about how they want things. That's really, really normal. And so getting to know how the classroom is set up and how the teacher wants it in the room is important. Observation. Yesterday we talked about the observation notebook. Because you're up and observing, you see a lot of things that the lead teacher might not see. So note those down and try and just share facts only, not your feelings. Now it's like, I think she's upset because, just facts. So-and-so is crying after, if you can put any details in there, like before snack time or something. Because then maybe you get to know things like, oh, she's always upset like around 9:30, and then you figure out, well, it's because she's hungry or something like that. So anything you can share with your teacher through that notebook will be helpful. And also with that, protecting the lesson. So not going over to the teacher and saying, hey, I need to tell you this. If you can do it in the notebook so that lesson is not interrupted, that would be ideal. And then we talked again about this yesterday. There's a little script for you with dealing with parents, because we want the communication to be with the lead teachers as much as possible. But a nice little script for you to just memorize and keep in your head is, I will write down your concern and share it with Miss So-and-so. She will get back to you as soon as possible. Any questions or comments about that? Anything to add?
No.
Okay.
I really like the last statement. Yeah. Really good.
Yeah, I like that too.
I really like
yeah.
that.
It shows your concern as well, but okay.
Yeah.
The assistant, again, these are things that just I really took a lot of this from the training this weekend. It's a copy and paste, but a lot of good information in here. So again, we spoke about this, know your lead teacher's expectations. If you know what's gonna happen, you'll be much more effective in helping. That's why we kind of set those schedules up yesterday, so that you guys can kind of know how the day is gonna flow. But make sure lead teachers, if there's something unique going on that day, that you communicate that to your other teachers, such as, oh, remember Spanish is coming today, or the library is coming to visit, things like that. Be open. If you, again, because you're up and seeing a lot of things that are happening, if you have a suggestion, you know, I think all of our lead teachers are definitely open to that. We already talked about this, know the schedule of the day. Know the rules and policies of school. Obviously, you're not gonna memorize the parent handbook, but if you don't know the answer, again, the better answer would not be I don't know, but let me find out and I'll get back with you, or if Janelle's in the office, you can ask her, things like that. It's important for the assistant to be a good role model. So if you want a peaceful classroom, you gotta be peaceful. So sometimes it's really hard for us as adults to like remember to not yell across the classroom. Not yell, I'm saying like communicate. So if I were to, Tana, what time does so-and-so go home today? Now I may have just broken 25 kids' concentration. So just take the extra 10 seconds to walk over and briefly, ask her quietly so no one is distracted. It's hard, and I know we're busy, but it's really, really, really important. And if we expect the children to not yell messages across the classroom, then we have to do exactly the same thing. Be a happy, pleasant, positive person. Again, I'm copy and paste, but this is important. What would it look like if we were just all happy and jolly? And it would be amazing. It would be amazing if that was how our classes looked all day. That's a perfect situation, but just remember every day is an important day to these kids, and to have a good attitude is going to make the day go much better. Be available to the children. If you're busy talking to another assistant, the child will have no one to go to. This behavior will also foster the same behavior in the children. They will soon be talking among themselves and become distracted from the work they are doing. So again, obviously they can't just run up, they have to know how to interrupt, but our primary job is to be with the children. So if we can chat about something else later and address the children's concerns first, that's ideal. Being interested in what they are doing is important. That's also hard, because sometimes it's just like, you don't want to hear about, I don't know what TV show is really popular right now for kids. What? Beyblade. Like, they might go into a whole, and at different times in life it's Minecraft, and at different times it's Fortnite, and at different, there's always something, and you just have to play like you're interested. Yeah. And ask one open-ended question. If you I'm not saying that they're gonna be talking about that stuff, but even if class stuff, like, look, I did blah blah blah, and they just go on and on and on. Sometimes all you have to do is acknowledge it, like, wow, you did whatever, and they just want acknowledgement. Be creative in working with children. No two are the same, and you'll need to approach things differently with different children. I think you all know that what works for one child doesn't always work for the other, and sometimes you have to figure out how to get through to that child. It's important to keep yourselves located in places where you can see as much of the classroom as possible at all times. Do not stand with your back to the children. Many things happen in a split second. Be aware. Directors and assistants need to have eyes in the back of their heads. Well, we don't, so it's really, really important to position yourselves. And we'll talk about being up and being down, but I find it's really important for at least one teacher to be up at all times.
Right.
Remember, lead teachers, you also have to be up and observing. So that doesn't mean it's always the assistants, but it's probably going to mostly be the assistants who are doing that. And don't think of yourself as just someone who is like watching the classroom. You are observing the classroom, and you're looking for indicators. You're such a valuable person. You are going to be relaying that information to the lead teacher. Oh, I noticed, you know, a couple weeks ago so-and-so was scribbling, but now they're starting to make shapes. Or, you know, those are really, really important indicators for the lead teacher to know that that child is then ready for the metal insets or whatever that might be. So
and you're
those are,
also, you're
No,
also
please.
observing, hey, I know you introduced this to so-and-so, but I don't think they're ready, right? Maybe you need to reintroduce this material to that student. So you're also seeing, you know, the good and the bad in the classroom, I guess.
right.
To say.
Yeah, because like while the lead's working with someone else, you might see that you know, that child did the, you know, an obvious work completely wrong. So yeah, you can make that note down. And then finally, if you understand the concepts being taught with various materials, you're much more helpful to the students and the directress. Checking work around the classroom is an integral part of your position. I think that's kind of like what we were just kind of talking about. You're not going to be necessarily giving them formal lessons, but you're definitely you're going to have that sense that a child gets it or doesn't get it. Okay, anything from you guys there?
Yeah, just like the second to last, keep yourself located in places where you can see the classroom. So part of that is also setting up your rooms. So just be cognizant when you set up your room, is this, you know, do I have stuff in the right area? Especially tables where you're gonna be doing iPad work or something. Set it up so you're not facing a wall, set it up so you're, you know.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it's like at the sink in your room, that's a very hidden area. So limiting the time with your back towards those toddlers, because it's just not an area that, you know, the sink isn't facing the other way, you know? Or I can't think of another area in that classroom, but that's one area that I can, sometimes I go in there and I think there's only like one teacher in there, but there's actually two, but you can't see them over there. Okay, so next page. For the first 2 weeks, you know, things will look a little different because we're just getting acclimated. So the assistant is going to be helping a lot monitoring group time. You're going to see these terms because I'm copying and pasting from this training. Group time, line time, circle time, they all mean the same thing. Your goals or your responsibility not necessarily to be setting up the classroom during this time. It's a lot of monitoring. But after that period, one of your main focuses will be to help room setup. And actually, we'll be breaking in a second. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe your lead teacher wants to have that responsibility all to herself. But if not, in fact, right now what we're going to do is we will break and we will talk about whose job it is at the beginning of the day to make sure the class is prepared, whose job it is to scan the materials at like maybe 11:30 or however you do that, and then again at the end of the day, how does that look in your room? So we'll break just for a couple of minutes to briefly talk about, and again, yesterday's training was more about like classroom management in general. This is more, we're talking more now about work. Montessori work in the shelves. So if you can just briefly talk about who will be doing those roles.
Among ourselves, right?
Yeah, in your class. Yeah. So between you guys, who's setting up? I mean, you guys kind of already know, but if you can jot that down.
It's gonna be hard, we have to.
You might want to get in like smaller groups.
At the end of the day, it's a missing.
I know what you mean.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It's a note to the parent or
Yeah.
something, you know.
yeah. Remember that scanning at the end of the work times is really important in case there's missing work. So that's the best time to check pockets. You know.
Baby pink towel.
Yeah.
So, when Asha comes, is she gonna be able to see the video?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
things that she knows?
And then we'll also
She should get a
prepare her
packet.
some worksheets so that she can, like during these times, she can kind of jot some things down. I'll pause, I'll have to edit the video to take these
But
parts
she's
out.
gonna get the same packet. We're
Yep.
saving some for
Yep.
somebody else.
Yep. And I'll review it with her. And then the thing is there still needs to be time for the two of you to meet. So if there's, you an opportunity, okay.
Only first day probably. You know what, I might come at 8 o'clock, just few days. To meet her, you know?
You know, if there's a time when someone can come in the afternoon,
Yeah.
if there's a time when someone can come in like at 1 o'clock to kind of see how things are going, and then you and Asha can sit over here and just go over like how you want this room to run, basically. You'll have to do a mini session.
So you just need to start making some notes with different things.
Yes, please, because that'll be helpful.
And write down that,
Yeah.
you know, what you're gonna be wanting.
So when she comes in the morning, she says, "So, you come in and the board is here, the land of the organization. She's not spending so much time on it.
Making notes, you're making notes so that you know that, so you know what to do. There's only two of
You're
them.
away from the same,
So that, you know,
back
she
to
needs
the
to help
kids.
with, you know,
So this way,
getting the kids
set
up
up,
to
so now you both can just focus on the kids.
If you want her to do the iPad, you need to tell her that this is your job for the iPad. So you need to write down things like that,
Always
so you
given,
can
the
something
house, like washing, cleaning.
Just another minute or so.
Can be put somewhere else. So at the end of the day, the
Well, we have the
kids are
three-step
done.
system, anything that gets dirty should go through the three-step system, and then when they're napping, we
Drop
clean.
it in. Okay. This way you're not just focus, you know, so they're focusing on the kids. In the afternoon you come in, right? So by this time they're clean the room, they're done everything, kids are laying down. So when you come in.
Well, not necessarily.
Maddie, you have yours pretty down packed.
A good half
We
hour,
discussed
45
this yesterday, so
minutes
Oh,
I
okay.
let everybody.
Great.
to fall asleep.
So when you come in, you're sitting with a non-nappers, this way they're not sleeping.
Where did your class go?
You're gone and you're.
Linda went to the bathroom, she went to get a break, but we already did this yesterday.
And we're just talking basically setting things up, and
my
then
observation
next we're gonna talk about
I
circle
have
time.
no clue where you put
So-
everything.
So that, and I know they're gonna need more, more structure, but
For me,
like,
the
keep it
whole
nice.
time when they're napping is the time to set up and clean up, not when they're awake. Anything that needs to be done, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, is not the best time to
Kids
do
wake
it.
up that they're focused
You're
on the
already,
kids.
exactly.
Okay, another critical time during the classroom is circle time. We're gonna go back to protecting the lesson. A lot of times the lead teacher, or maybe an assistant teacher, is giving, the group time. It might be reading a book. Yes.
Is that something we can go deeper into in the,
Yes.
with the toddler room?
Yeah. Yep. Again, for you, like the setup, Evelyn does first thing in the morning, and then, so then you just kind of have to set it up how you want. Just who's gonna be scanning the materials. We're not talking big picture here, we're talking, right now, we're just talking
Right.
shelves and room setup. But during circle time is a time when we see a lot of interruptions from children. They're wiggly, they are throwing themselves on the ground, they wanna escape. So we wanna make sure that whoever is giving the lesson or reading the book does not have to be the one to stop and say, sit nicely. It's not, they need to keep the lesson moving. So it's the other people in the room that are going to,
Maintain order.
yeah, so if it's the lead teacher, giving a lesson, especially a presentation, and you've got a wiggler or someone who's disruptive, you're going to figure out how do you want the other teachers in the room to stop that. Is it they go over and tap them? Is it they go sit behind them? We're gonna break right now and you're gonna decide how does that look? But I'm gonna give you one set of directions in that. Whatever it is, if you can be silent with your instruction with the child, that's important. So it might be just one who you see sitting across who's put his legs out and is, and all you have to do is do this. If you can do it silent, then that's the best way to do it. But just chat a little bit about how does the lead teacher want the disruptive children to be corrected, basically.
And stay consistent with that whatever you choose, everyone stay consistent with how you use it.
Yes.
So for those children that are not ready to sit in the circle time, we we talked about it in the training, but I wanna know what the school does here. Like, she told me that if they're coming from the toddler room, because we didn't have Ginger before, but if they're coming from the toddler room and they're not ready to sit down for that 10-minute lesson that we're gonna give, they said that we could allow them to sit at a table and do a word, but really close to the circle, because that way it can still interest them and they can still come back.
I think all these teachers will have their own thoughts on that. I think some will say, well, then all the kids are gonna wanna do that. But I don't think that's true. I think the kids really wanna be part of a group and they wanna listen and they wanna pay attention. But if you have a class that is not like that and they're all like, well, he's doing that, then maybe you have to reevaluate. So it's just gonna kind of be on an as-needed basis. What do you think?
Yes, as needed. And you may have that one that wanders off and is sitting there doing practical life while everyone else is so involved in the circle, and at that case, it's fine.
I think you could use natural consequences as well. If there's a participation component of that, they're not sitting in the circle, you don't get to participate. When you're ready to sit, then I will be able to call on you to do this or that. So in that way, it shows the children who are sitting that they're sort of like getting sort of rewarded for following those rules. Okay, and then the other time that's an important part of the day is the work time. So monitoring the children. This means you shouldn't get bogged down with one child or a group. You really need to keep moving. If you're helping a child, if you just need to like quickly help them, you do that, and then you're up and you're moving on. Redirect children who are disruptive or wandering. Help them choose an appropriate activity. So, but the language being used is not, go find something else. Go do this. You need to go do this. The better language would be, can you find something? Or would you like me to help you? Or can I show you something? So it's always kind of done in that positive way. Even the brightest child might not have really good, well, they don't have good decision-making skills, so they just can't choose. So sometimes you have to give a choice. Do you want to do math, language? Do you want, giving small choices is good for them. If there's tattling, be a model for the children. Remind them of how to solve the problem themselves. So if this is a ridiculous tattling thing, you can use language like, is that helpful or unhelpful? Sometimes you have to intervene, but you may even just respond with, sounds like you have a problem, and just walk away. And see if they try and solve that problem themselves. You don't have to rush in and immediately discipline everybody for kind of like a silly little tattling situation. I love the term, looks like you have a problem. We can't tattle, right? We gotta solve our own problems. Try and anticipate and intercept problems before they escalate. Cultivate the ability to know what is going on behind you. Be aware of the whole classroom at all times. Kind of vague, but you probably get it. I don't expect you to be teaching or playing with the children. We are encouraging their independence and their ability to make choices. So interfering the least amount as possible, getting them going on something and then walking away is great. If they really want you there with them, the language could be that to be used is, do this work and then show me when you're done. And then you can walk over and say, wow, you did it. Model ground rules at all times. So whatever the rules you're projecting for them are the rules that you're following as well. So things like the children shouldn't be sitting on tables. We shouldn't be sitting on tables. Just things you don't really think of, but they notice. They notice that. Keep order in the classroom. We talked about that. Outside, I think we'll talk more about this, but please spread yourselves out on the playground. That's where a lot of accidents happen, and it's really a time of intense observation on them. Know your count and recount periodically. Again, I think we'll go more into detail about how we want that to look as far as going out to the playground, coming in, and making sure all the children are accounted for. there should definitely be a person, I don't know how you're going to organize it, but there should definitely be a person who does a sweep of the playground after for just any children who might be in the little tunnel or under the equipment. And when making transition, okay, this was, I guess, a suggestion from one lead teacher that she's always in the front and someone else is in the back. The next page we're actually not gonna go over, I'll let you read that on your own, but this just, it's just a reminder that we're a team, we have to work together. I think that observation notebook is gonna be key for communication. Knowing that the interaction between the 2 or 3 of you in the room is something that the children are always watching, so just be aware that you're a role model. And then I do want to touch on one thing I think is really important is the child is given freedom. Freedom is based on responsible action for himself or herself and others in the classroom. A lot of times in preschools, we are telling the kids what to do all of the time, and they really do need a little bit of freedom. So the child should have freedom of choice, okay? So, of course there's independent lessons, but they need to repeat things. In a world right now where there's so much attention deficit, we are providing an environment where they can concentrate. And if you're a parent, you're pulling your kid here and there and everywhere, and like they don't even have downtime at home. They don't have a time to rest and just either sit and be or do something over and over again. Yeah, I know if I ban screen time in my house, my kids find something to do and they are absorbed in it. But when we're telling them it's time for this, it's time for that, we're not doing them a service at home. But here we do it. We do that. We give them this uninterrupted work time. So just remember that if you have a child who's making money every day or, I don't know, pouring, that they need that. They need that at that time. They have a craving to become a master of it. And the only way to become a master is repetition. So it's okay if they repeat. If they're a normal child, they will get bored of it at some point. And they won't want to do it all the time. So please allow them that freedom of choice and the freedom to repeat. Freedom of movement. Some children just cannot sit still. And again, in another traditional environment, they may not be given this opportunity, but we can give it to them, the freedom to move around. If you can find a work, if the child is just learning their red group and they cannot sit, figure out a way to give them a lesson where they walk around the room. Take this, walk around the room and come back and tell me what it says. And then you're teaching them so much because they're remembering it, but they have to hold it in their head. They get to move. So you can be creative and so that they can move. Also, they may just need to wander. They just need a break. And I think we're so focused on getting them through the sequence that we forget that sometimes they just need to wander. They just let their mind wander and their body wander, and that's okay. If they're not being destructive, they're not interfering, give them that break.
So, let's say it's circle time according to our schedule, and they're just,
I don't know.
You
I think
can
toddlers
postpone
may
that.
have different rules.
Toddlers, you can't always go by your schedule with a toddler.
Yeah.
Some
my
days your
point,
room,
Yeah.
like, wait
some days your
until
room
they
is gonna
are
be full
mellow
of
and.
just
But they might not all be mellow at the same time. So
No.
you may not have complete participation like the other room does. But I'm talking more about the work time right here. So I'm talking about that time where they just might need a mental break. They might need a physical break. They just might need to sit. And that's okay if they're just sitting and not doing anything. We don't always have to be like, go find a work, go find a work. They might just need a little bit break. We don't want them doing that all day, but I'm just saying, if you notice that, be aware, write it down. I notice that every day at 10, so-and-so just can't do anything. And that just might be a clue. Okay, freedom to work alone. I think we do a pretty good job of that really fosters that concentration. And then, but also a freedom to socialize. So if we are providing a microcosm of society. So in society, when we work, everybody just doesn't work with their head down very silently. We collaborate, we talk. So again, as long as it's not being interruptive or disrupting, they absolutely should have the freedom to communicate. This, you're practicing grace and courtesy and socialization. So our role in the classroom is to see that those freedoms are not misused. So just kind of be aware of that. I think sometimes we forget about that. I wanted to harp on the freedom to move and the freedom to just to do nothing. Because I think we're so focused, especially for parents, like they need to, keep going. But we just need to remember that, just like us, we can't work 8 hours straight without a mental break and, or a physical break. Something like that.
In connection with that, like when a child is working, and you see they are stopping, and the classroom kind of looks like it's just, but if you just write it out, you see that's what they call the false fatigue. They're just, and then they're just, again, it will be the class gets normalized after that. But if you get in there and nothing happens, so you just have to move back and step back, even if the class looks like, because they've done some hard work.
Yeah.
And now they just need to express themselves, move around, and do that. So that's another thing.
Sometimes I do hard work, and then I need to watch 3 episodes of whatever, and that's my. So again, they're, yeah. And I think I wanted to really harp on this too because it's something I forgot, And so when it was represented to me this weekend, I was like, oh my gosh, yes.
I mean,
They need
after
a
all, they're
break.
just mini humans.
But they are, but they're not, and we'll talk about that more too. We can't treat them exactly as little
Well, no,
adults.
not exactly, but certain
humans,
needs,
yes. They all have needs. They have these needs. Okay, so to the next page, I think you guys are pretty familiar with the Montessori environment. So if you want to read through that later, we'll do that. You can do that later. Montessori ground rules. These are just the basic ground rules for every Montessori classroom. If you guys can just briefly go through them, this is not a time to get into the theory of them all or whatever. But if this models what you want in your classroom, if this is what you want, go through them with your class, and if you need to add any at the bottom. But again, these are basic rules. We don't want to inundate children with a bunch of rules, but these are just rules of respect and rules for the environment. So if you want to just briefly chat with your class about that. These are rules you're going to be presenting to your children, right? Do you guys you talk about ground rules to them?
These are the rules that they're also making sure that they use throughout the full day, even in childcare, right?
That's
Well,
important.
so here's one thing, and they're going to kind of be upset about it. Well, Debbie felt strongly that in childcare they didn't use reps. The reason is because she's more of a Reggio inspired, a little bit more loosey-goosey. And she just felt it's not class time. They had just spent 7 hours, and I get it. I think there's a way you can justify either or. They felt like no, this is the rules of the class. So I guess that's going to be up to you to, decide. Like say they made a big Lego thing. Just keep it on this.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's still showing ownership of what your material that they're working with.
And define your space, your
And you're
workspace.
defining your workspace.
I think they'd be happy to go back to that. So
Yeah, you're keeping it throughout the day. You don't, and especially the time it's paid.
but some of those just probably won't fit. Right. And they understand that. They understand exceptions.
Right.
They can get it.
Another child can have permanent.
Right. I like that it defines their space. Like this is my, yeah.
Right.
If you want, if you're adding anything, then I can retype them for your rooms, and you can put them up. I think it's nice to have the ground rules up.
Yeah, because we were just talking about it, like, you know, having the children learn to push their chair in.
Okay, if we can, when you're done, if we can just briefly go around the room and see if anyone added a rule, because I really like what they added here. Are you pretty much finished up, or you need a minute? Great.
Maya, did you put the pictures of your ground rules? That you
Yes,
showed
we
the
have
kids?
the picture.
You would show pictures or outside play or something.
Outside
you would show.
play, outside playground, rules of do's and don'ts as a picture we have. So going up the slide, we put a X, a child going up, but it's an X, so.
Not the ground.
Not the ground. I think we.
Get this out of your way.
Can you, Manju, can you mention the rule you added to your rules?
I just added that to push for the child, if the push the chair inside out, especially working on the table, the child has to push the chair in before he's picking up the work to put it back on the shelf.
And I would always say to the kids, push your chair in so no one trips.
Yeah.
And just that little,
That's what
like,
I'm-
oh, I don't want anyone to trip, you know?
Yeah, what we noticed before is
Yeah.
because some of the kids were picking up the work, trying to push the chair in at the same time, and then all
Yes.
the work is being dumped.
Yeah.
And that's why we mentioned that.
Right. Same with picking, I don't know how people do it, but picking up a work as you're standing up, I feel like
Mhm.
that's a recipe for disaster sometimes.
Yeah.
They trip also, that's the reason they trip, because the chair is on the way.
Did anyone else have a rule that they added, a basic ground rule? I think they did a good job covering in most of them. Okay, good. If anyone wants a copy of these for their room, let me know as well. Okay. I just wanted to briefly go through what a silent presentation was, and I asked for a volunteer, and Miss Evelyn has graciously accepted. So there's a record here. So one of the first presentations, I'm assuming one of the first presentations you do is how to roll a rug, how to get a rug out. There's lots of right ways to do this. So if Miss Evelyn does it and that's not exactly the way you do it, don't point that out. Because your way is probably right too. So, okay, so this would be done in a circle time.
Should get it at work or just a rug rolling?
I think that's fine. And then does anyone walk around their rug? Okay, so you can, I don't know, toddlers presentation, some they're shorter, but when I saw the teacher do this weekend, then she stood up and she said, again, I don't know if you want to use words, but that's what she did. And she just very slowly walked around. But did you see how slowly she walked with the rug, and then how painfully slowly she unrolled it? That is classic in a Montessori presentation. And it holds their attention. It's kind of dramatic, and it just kind of sets the tone for them that they shouldn't rush. And then you want to roll it back after you're done with the words.
Because when I roll it, I don't know.
Or you can get on the side. Yeah.
This is a silent presentation.
Thank you, thank you. So again, that really, really slow, the slow motions, and they probably won't do it quite that slow, but they're also not gonna rush. I also think it's nice for them to see that we don't always do things so fast, cause they see us as perfection, so when we go slow like that, and I think you're also, when you're on the circle and giving a presentation, sometimes you show that you mess up, like if you're doing the knob cylinders, so showing them that you're human and you're not perfect is important too.
Yeah, cause we show them, it's like when we're rolling a couple times, then pat,
Yep.
pat.
So as I said,
that
everybody
it
does it
keeps
a little
it-
different.
Yeah.
And the lady this weekend did it a little different than like I would have done it. So, but the point is for assistants in the classroom, whoever's not doing the presentation, to watch and to learn how they do it in that room, so that they can model that later on. And actually, what you see here is what we have in our manuals. These are like the exact presentation. And we all have manuals in our rooms, and if you can't find them, they're actually on JumpShare on the iPad, so I can, if you're ever interested in just how you would do a presentation. Also, lead teachers, I know I would have to do this. There's so many presentations. I'm sure you guys look them up sometimes. I would have to if I needed to do something that I don't do a lot. So they're on there. I'm sure if you want to see an updated version, I'm sure Miss Maddie would show you. I'm sure they're 99% the same, but there may be some changes. If you want to see if anything has changed, ask her.
I also have a huge music binder.
Oh, good.
It's pretty big.
I don't
so-
have a music binder, so
Oh,
That's
we
awesome.
did a music binder.
Share with us.
No, sorry, phone.
We need a whole binder.
And I don't know about for lead teachers, when at the bottom where it says language, that's where when I was shown this weekend, she would use any vocabulary that she would be using during that presentation. I don't think she did it for this, but the next page, I think we're gonna skip. It was just kind of showing how a presentation is done, and but I think you all can just really watch your teacher give presentations, and the key things to remember is just to go slow and watching how dramatic the teacher is. Okay, so skills to promote. So in the classroom, the very first thing we're doing, and it starts with the rug rolling and maybe like puzzles, is a cycle of work. You'll hear that term. It's probably not just a Montessori term, a cycle of work or work cycle. And what that is doing a work from start to finish. But it even starts with just mentally choosing what you're going to do, finding a space, whether it's at the table or on the floor with a rug, getting a work out, doing the work, arranging the work back on the tray, how it's supposed to go, and putting it away. So at the beginning, they are not masters of this. You know, they'll try and get out 2 rugs or a second work. So just reminding of put your work away, and then you can get another one out. Put your work away for the next person. Just words like that. So that's the cycle of work. And then we have the 3-period lesson. This is really great for anyone who's working in the classroom. It shows the child you are interested in what they're doing, and it allows you to be a part of their lesson. So if you see a child is working on something where there's classifying, and you're not breaking their concentrations, you can step in and do a 3-period lesson. So, do you want to show it? All right, we're gonna practice it. Well, all right, I don't want to put it in the spot. All right, we're gonna practice it, but I'll start with 2 letters here. So, if you're just introducing 2 sounds, it's really common sense and simple. The first thing you do is you're gonna tell them what they are. So this says "a." This says "ba." Show me "ba." You're not gonna say "show me "a." You're gonna start with the last one, because that's they're gonna have greater success remembering what you just said. So this says "a." This says "ba." That's the first. That's the first period. Show me "ba." What you're not pointing. Show me "ba." hopefully they get it. Show me a, hopefully show. Stop here. You might actually stay in this area for a long time. A lot of children don't want to be vocal, and so even if they know what it is, they might not say it. So you could stay in the second period for a long time. You could mix things up. You could say, go give buff to Miss D. I mean, that's getting them active. Or go put A on the blue chair. So there's ways you can stay in that second period. When they feel really confident about that, then you can go to the third period. So again, the first, this says A, this says ba. Show me ba. Show me A. What is this? Now you're introducing their language back to you. So you're seeing if they can recall it back to you. Hopefully they say, that says A. What is this? I might even be using the right language by saying, what is this? Or, what does this say? It should have been. Ba. So that's how you do it. So the first thing is you're telling them. The second thing is you're just asking them to show you or do something with it. And the third time you're asking them to tell it to you back. You can do these with multiple objects, not just two, but you'd probably want to start out with just two. Did I mess anything up? You can do this with letters, you can do it with numbers, you can do it with geometric solids, there's so colors, there's so many things you can do it with. Oh, and then next, I learned this, when I always thought of transition activities, I always just thought of finger plays and songs and a book and maybe a game. And this weekend, the instructor, Shannon, showed us some transition activities with sensorial materials. So I'll show you one. Actually, I need some students on circle time with me. So like maybe 5 of you want to join me on the circle?
The funny thing is, me and Maddie was just talking about using material
Nope,
as
but I-
transition.
See, I didn't learn this. Where are your
Sensorial's over there, behind Beta.
Especially when you want everybody to come after this.
So this would be an activity that a lead teacher or an assistant could do, like if you're getting ready to go outside, getting ready to go to lunch, coming back from being inside, and everyone's not here yet. You don't have to have your whole class here. You just need some participants and something attractive for them to, to want to be sitting on your circle time. So if, the lead teacher's like, I gotta deal with something in the bathroom, can you get them? So this is an idea, and I'm gonna use one material, but you could use a variety.
Look how realistic the students are.
If you do walk on your body. It's not part of the presentation, but that's just to show that you have enough space, that you're not interfering with anyone else's space.
It's actually good for toddlers because they want to walk across.
She's
all
touching
the
me.
rugs.
That's a good way, that's a good way.
Hands on your lap.
Yeah. Right?
Miss Amanda, they're talking.
See how she smiles?
what would a 4-year-old do if she's 4? What would she do? And she wants a turn, and she, yeah. What would she do?
You did it.
Correct it, right? You correct it. You take that
Some of them
down.
will knock him down.
That'd be Steven.
Why did you do that? It's mine. I know some kids that are trying stuff. So.
That might be when you call over and auto chat and say,
Going back and forth on this floor.
just keep staying.
Jigga.
Nervous?
Wait till I get to the last one. No, I'll break here. This is not a presentation. This is an extension activity. So this is not a presentation for the lead teacher. This probably would have already been presented in the classroom. This is just an activity, a transition activity. Yep.
To get the attention
So
on the line.
we'll assume they all know how to do this. They're all going to do it. They're gonna build it. This one's gonna be really hard, and they'll get it, and they'll laugh, and they'll correct each other. And I'm not correcting them because they're gonna correct each other. Simple activity, and it's peaceful. It takes time. You don't have to finish it. You can do it again. It's just kind of like an unlimited activity. Another one she showed us was, it would take longer. If you really need to stall, you'll take out both. I'm gonna just do it in fast motion, pretend I'm not doing it this fast. You're mixing them up. This gets really hard. And then you're going to present doing the first 2 pieces, so you'll.
No, she's just talking about another presenter.
Now, it's gonna be trickier. You're gonna probably wanna call in an older student to try and figure out that what we're doing is largest red, largest yellow, next largest red, next year largest yellow. So if you feel the kids can do that, you can, this might be maybe you're getting into March, you're doing something like this. But just showing you could start simple and go more complex.
Can that be built?
It can, we did it this weekend. But putting this piece on top of this piece, I think it took like 5 times before someone was able to get it on there. And again, really great, just showing them that we're not all perfect. Even a 5-year-old might struggle to get that little tiny piece on there. So again, these are the knobless cylinders. You could do this with the geometric solids. You could just, you could say, come pick a shape and tell me what its name is. Or you could say, who can find a sphere, if you know those names. Again, you can do this with the pink tower. Just so you know, the pink tower can completely butt up against the brown stairs perfectly.
Yeah.
So the largest brown stairs and the largest pink tower match up. So you could do activities with that. So you can be creative in how you want to just do a really simple activity. Again, this is not a Montessori lesson. This is just an activity. You don't have to be perfect with it. There's really no rules. The only rule is I wouldn't correct them. I would just let them figure it out, because this is not important if they are, doing it wrong.
How would you handle a kid correcting another kid? Because some kids come
They
out
will.
real
That's-
aggressive when correcting.
Isn't that how real life is?
I
Some
know.
people are real aggressive correcting other people. I would, you could, I don't know, how would you handle that?
Some children are really aggressive when correcting another kid, like yelling at them that
That's
it's
not
wrong.
right.
Yeah.
They're stupid. Yeah,
That's not nice.
I know.
But
I would just say he's doing it his way. And so this kid can suggest, but he's doing it his way.
You wouldn't correct their language.
not at that time, maybe I can pull him out later, because then it's gonna distract the whole crew, but if he keeps getting aggressive, I would just say, but you know, this is his work, let him try it his way.
And you can also remind them that I'm choosing people who are, yeah, like quiet
Right.
listeners. And, you know, I'm not gonna be able to pick you when you're speaking like that. I'll have to move to the next student.
I was about to ask you, you know how like everyone was quiet and then you were putting everything out? What about the kid that sits there and he's like, what's that? What are you gonna do with that? Like, do you explain it to him or do you
Ignore.
continue to work?
Ignore. And you can also skip over them. Be like, I'll come back to you when you're always keep it positive. Don't do that, don't talk like that, stop talking. It's always, what can you say positive or show them positive? What you want them to do. Yeah, I wanna pick you, but I'm just picking quiet sitters right now. So I'm bringing these back. Not one at a time, sorry. I loved that activity because I thought it was just so open-ended and it incorporates the Montessori curriculum into transition times. Thank you. You want to take a break? Okay.
I'm not touching you.